What if the pain that broke Joseph was the very thing God used to save many lives? He dreamed of greatness, but his journey began in betrayal, chains, and silence. Genesis chapter 37 verse 28. So when the Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. Joseph was 17 when his story began, not with suffering but with dreams. He lived among his brothers in the hills of Canaan, a quiet boy with thoughtful eyes and a heart tuned to heaven. His father Jacob loved him deeply, seeing in him the child of promise born in old age, and he gave Joseph a robe of many colors. It was more than clothing, it was favor made visible. But what warmed Joseph's shoulders ignited resentment in his brothers' hearts. They saw the robe and felt forgotten. And when Joseph shared his dreams, dreams of sheaves bowing and stars kneeling, jealousy hardened into hatred. Joseph did not speak from pride, but from innocence, not yet knowing that visions spoken too soon can wound fragile hearts. One day, sent by his father to check on his brothers, Joseph walked into betrayal. They saw him coming from afar, the coat bright against the land, and decided to silence the dreamer. They stripped him of his robe and threw him into an empty pit. His cries echoed upward as they sat down to eat. Then a caravan passed, and silver changed hands. Joseph was lifted from the pit only to be bound and carried away to Egypt. His brothers returned home with a lie, and Jacob wept, believing his son dead. Egypt rose before Joseph like a world he did not understand. Foreign, powerful, unforgiving. He was sold into the house of Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, and though Joseph was a slave, God was with him. Everything Joseph touched prospered, and soon he was entrusted with responsibility. But integrity has a cost. Temptation came, his master's wife said, "Come to bed with me." But he refused. He said, "My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" Joseph refused, lies followed. He was falsely accused and thrown into prison, the dreamer once again surrounded by darkness. Yet even there, God did not leave him. Joseph rose among prisoners as he once had among brothers, serving faithfully, interpreting dreams, speaking hope. He asked only to be remembered, but he was forgotten. Time passed. Then Pharaoh dreamed, troubling dreams no one could explain. At last, Joseph was remembered. Pulled from prison, standing before power, Joseph spoke not his own wisdom but God's. He foretold abundance, followed by famine, and offered a plan to save many lives. Pharaoh listened. In one moment, Joseph was lifted from chains to authority, clothed again, not in colors of favor, but in robes of leadership. From pit to palace, God had been writing a story Joseph could not yet see. When famine spread across the land, people came from everywhere for food, including Joseph's brothers. They bowed before him, just as the dreams had shown, but they did not recognize the brother they had sold. Joseph recognized them immediately. His heart ached, torn between memory and mercy. He tested them, not for revenge, but to see if their hearts had changed. And they had. When Benjamin was threatened, Judah stepped forward, offering himself in place of his younger brother. Love had grown where jealousy once lived. Joseph could no longer hold back. He sent everyone else away and wept so loudly the palace echoed. Then he said the words that healed generations. "I am Joseph." Terror filled his brothers' faces. They expected judgment. Instead, Joseph stepped toward them with compassion. "Do not be distressed," he said. God sent me ahead of you to save lives." In that moment, the past loosened its grip. Joseph said, "Now hurry back to my father and say to him, 'This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, don't delay.'" What had been meant for harm was revealed as part of a greater redemption. Joseph embraced his brothers, forgave them fully, and welcomed them home. Joseph's story is not just about dreams fulfilled, but about hearts transformed. It tells us that God works in silence as much as in miracles, that waiting is not wasted, and that forgiveness has the power to heal what betrayal breaks. Joseph's dreams did come true, but not as he imagined. They came true through suffering, faithfulness, and grace. And in the end, it was not power that defined him, but mercy. God turned pain into purpose, and forgiveness into freedom. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share to help others grow in faith.